still at the Labour Party Ardèche in Mullingar, and I'm here with Senator Ivana Bacik. Thank you for this interview, Senator.
Thank you, Darren.
Two questions for you.
Yes.
Why should I care about politics, and why should I care about the Labour Party?
Well, the first question, everyone should care about politics. The personal is political, which is the old feminist slogan, but it goes for everybody, not just women, men, people of all colours, religions, ages. It really is about what you do in your personal life and how you interact with other people. That's what politics is about, and it's about how you behave towards others, how you want them to behave towards you, what you want your society to be like, and that's all highly political. Now, it may be political with a small p, but it's still political, and everything people do really has something to say about their outlook on life, and that is political in itself. So I always think even people who don't describe themselves as political, people who never vote and so on, what they're doing therefore is upholding the status quo, because they're allowing other people to make decisions for them and not inputting themselves. And in fact, by doing that, they're taking a political stance too. So even abstention is political. But for me, I've been involved in left-wing student politics when I was a student, in feminist politics and so on. Because for me, one of the fundamental principles that I believe in is equality, and trying to make society more equal, trying to achieve a situation where everybody can achieve their full potential, irrespective of their age or gender or sexuality or religion. And for me, that's really what my politics is about. But everyone has a different reason for being political. But I do believe everyone is political, and that we all have, we should all acknowledge that.
Do you think that politics can make a real difference to this country, given the state that we're in today?
Yes, I certainly do. I think that political decisions that were made over the years contributed to the situation we're in today. That had, for example, a different political perspective been taken during the boom years, we would have seen, I think, a very different way of targeting our spending. We would have seen better build-up of public structures, public services like health and education that have been better invested in, and so on. And we wouldn't have seen the sort of profligate tax breaks and so on that encouraged this reckless development, as we now know, reckless development funded on empty credit. And the construction boom was being challenged by many on the left and many in opposition. For many years it was being challenged, it was being built on sand, and nobody in government listened, and I suppose none of us wanted to hear it. That's the reality. Even those of us on the left didn't really want to believe that, because we all hoped that prosperity would continue. Those of us who remember the 1980s didn't want to go back in any way to that era of high unemployment and high immigration. But the reality was that the political decisions taken actually built up this very, very flimsy structure that, as we now know, has all too easily collapsed, with dreadful consequences of so many people losing their jobs. So, those were political decisions taken, and I think that a different political party, a party on the left, would have taken different decisions. And I think it's time to try and put in place a government now that is committed to left-of-centre politics, social democratic politics, and that emphasises regulation of the free market, and better regulation in particular of the banking and financial sectors, to ensure we don't have this sort of reckless, wild lending and spending.
So, if we vote Labour in June, what do you think? What would be the benefits to the country and to me, basically? So I'm a 30-year-old guy, I'm working, I pay taxes and all of that sort of stuff. What's the benefit to me and then to the unemployed? And I know that's a very, very broad question.
That's a broad question.
It's a very broad question, but if you could say the benefit to Ireland of electing the Labour Party into government is?
Well, I think the benefit of electing Labour would be to encourage a different sort of policy to be put in place. The sort of policy I've been talking about, a left-of-centre policy, left-of-centre policy that emphasises regulation of the free market, and in particular of the free market in the banking and financial and business sector that was allowed to lend and spend in this reckless way for far too long. We've seen internationally an acknowledgement that you need to have curbs, you need to have regulations. For a long time, there were regulations on high street banks, but there weren't any regulations really on hedge funds and the sort of more shadowy financial sectors that were allowed to build up these false booms based on empty credit. So I think that we would see under left-wing government more regulation of the banking and financial sector, and we would see also, I think, a more careful approach to the creation of a more equal society, emphasising job creation. I think there is, the Labour Party's plan is to have a stimulus, yes, to spend to ensure growth, just as Barack Obama is proposing in the US. But I think it would be a careful spend looking at ways to encourage labour-intensive development, so that you would encourage employment, and looking at creative ways to keep people off the dole. And that's deeply important. And it's important to build up consumer confidence as well, as much as anything. So I think to Labour to do well in the elections in June would send out an important signal that people want to turn to a different sort of politics, and politics that would, I hope, move us away from the dreadful economic recession we're in now.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.